Hi, I'm Maggie,
Hi, I'm Grace, and this is
a very bookish podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to a very bookish podcast, and welcome to week 2 of Auth-tober 2021. Today we have our second guest for the month. We have Nisha. Hi, Nisha. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, we're so excited to have you on because Grace and I have both been following you for a while, and it's surreal. I think we talked about this last week. It's like it's so weird to like read your books and then like see these authors and be like talking to them, and we're like, "Hey, hi, I've been
Well,
following you."
I hope I'm not disappointing because
Could
yeah.
never.
No, I love your videos.
Oh my gosh.
It's so funny how authors now can connect on like TikTok and stuff with their audiences and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Because I've never, like, any books I would read, I wouldn't know anything about the author. And now the books I read, I'm like, oh yeah, I follow them on TikTok. I like see all their funny videos and stuff. And I like some of the videos are very informative as well. You do a lot of very informative videos and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I love her. I can't wait to pre-order her book. And I was like, yes, you announced it. And I was like waiting for the cover reveal. And then I saw the cover and I was like,
It's good, right? The cover is pretty good.
The cover is so good. And for those who are listening, we're talking about the cover reveal for Dating Dr. Dill, which is also kind of inspired by the 10 Things I Hate About You cover, or like the poster, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
When I saw that, it was so cute.
Yeah, no, they took my notes and they really did a great job with it. So Dating Dr. Dill is the first book in a trilogy of Shakespeare-inspired romances. And Bethany Morrow actually calls it remixed like classics. And I love that term. So I'm going to be using that. So it's a remixed classic tale of, Taming of the Shrew. And the 10 Things I Hate About You was also a retelling of Taming of the Shrew. And we were looking at ideas for the cover, and I said, you know what, like the one thing I love about Taming of the Shrew is that the heroine never loses her agency. And it's just all about the great banter. And Dating Dr. Dill was like so fun to write because I spent a lot of time focusing on the banter, and to kind of pay homage to the retelling of Taming of the Shrew, we decided to kind of use the cover as our model. And Fatima Beg, I think is how you spell it. She's a Pakistani artist. She did the work, and it's just, she made those characters look great.
Yeah.
Yes, it looks so cute.
It definitely fits in with the style of books coming out right now, that like cartoonish style. So it's like perfect. And like when I first saw it, I was like, I didn't even see that it was you who posted it. Like I didn't even look at the thing, and I was like, oh my God, is that her book? And then I looked down and I was like, it was your username. And I was like, oh, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I was like, I'm waiting for the pre-order to drop, and then Electric Idol to drop, and then I'm just buy a bunch of books pre-ordered before the shortage and just make sure I have a copy of this book so I can read it because it looks so good. And I think that's what also makes a book is the cover. Like a lot of people
For those of you who are just listening, sorry, Lizzie Bennett just jumped into my lap. She's like a little needy right now.
Wait, is her name Lizzie Bennett, like Elizabeth Bennett from
Yep.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
This
I
is
love
Lizzie
that.
Bennett.
She's so
And then
pretty.
if you want, I can show you Nancy Drew really quick. Hey, Pops, come here. Nancy Drew is literally laying, she's like on her back now. She's like, I'm not moving anywhere. But I'll show her you in a second.
Yeah.
Pops, Pops. Nancy
Yeah.
Drew. Yeah, no, forget it. Sorry. I'm sure she'll show up in a second.
But yeah, I feel like your cover, a lot of people like, I think a lot of people associate like book covers with authors, and for you,
Yeah.
I saw that cover, and now that's the only cover I associate with you because I love it so much, and I'm like, oh yes, I can see it in my mind right now. I'm so excited to like have it in my hand, unboxing it. I'm gonna I'm so excited. As you can tell,
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
Well, I hope you guys enjoy the story. It was definitely a lot of fun to write.
Yeah.
Yeah, who doesn't love banter-filled romance? I mean, that is like an essential piece of any book that comes across Book Talk now. It's like if it has banter, that's like an automatic purchase. That's an automatic read
Yeah.
because that tension build up, that type of conversation that gonna go back and forth. It really makes the reader invested, and having good banter is just like chef's kiss right there. So of course it's going to be amazing and I'm so excited for it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So kind of like that kind of leads right into my question is like what is your recipe for like good banter when you're writing a book? Like how do you mix like tension but also like like how do you mix all of that together to make like perfect banter in a book?
Ooh, that is a big question. I think the one thing I have to say about banter is that it has to feel very natural. And I have to know where the banter is going. Otherwise, it's just wordplay, and wordplay can get boring pretty quickly. So for the scene, I try to, before I even sit down and start typing, I want to kind of nail down what is the goal for the scene. Where am I going? How am I planning on getting there? Like, what is the actual physical elements in the story? Are they in a restaurant? Will they be eating? Is that going to play into the banter versus are they walking somewhere? And once I have all those pieces in place, usually it starts with I'm all about transition. So it has to transition from the previous scene. And that's where I start. And whoever feels the most comfortable starting in that moment based on, just on who I think would be the most comfortable with their goals and their motivation and what they want out of the scene, they'll start. And I kind of just run with it. There's really no secret sauce when it comes to banter for me. It's just I have to know what's going to happen, what they're trying to say, and if they're trying to say in a way that like doesn't exactly address it, or if they're just going to go straight and like say it as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And like when it comes to comedy, like so my like specialty, I hate to say that word, but like the one thing that I enjoy the most is like fun banter, funny banter, and not cutting and sharp wit banter as much, but like the humorous comedy that comes out of wordplay. And when I like tell the jokes or like I lay the groundwork for the jokes, it has to like be quick, because if it takes too much setup, then it just gets boring. So I focus on like making sure that the setup is quick, the delivery is just as quick, and it moves on into the scene. Banter can't take most of the space on the page for me. It has to keep moving the scene along.
Got it. That sounds really good.
Sorry.
My brother just got home from school and wanted to come say hi. I heard it coming. I heard the steps up the stairs. I knew it was coming.
It happens frequently on the podcast.
That is a-okay.
But so I'm guessing the way you said that is you're more of do you plot more when you go to the books and you like plan out your books more, or are you kind of a mix of both? Like you go in to writing a scene and you know like, hey, this is what I want to happen in the scene and like this is how I'm gonna get there, and then you write, or do sometimes you don't and you just write like the scene?
So when it comes to like plotting and pantsing, I used to be a like very rigid plotter. I would have to know exactly what happened in every single scene and every single part of the book. And that was when I was working like 60, 70 hours a week. I was working in Manhattan, and I would write on the train into the city, and then I would edit on the train out of the city, and I would sometimes write scenes on my phone. But that's how I got my career started. Like I wrote my so-called Bollywood Life that way. I wrote Radha and Jay's Recipe for Romance that way. I wrote the first 2 Sing books, like just like that. And that process worked really well for me when I was kind of like, I only had a limited amount of brain space. But the minute the pandemic happened and I started reevaluating the stories that I wanted to tell and how I wanted to tell them, I kind of have released myself from the shackles of plotting. And I think part of that means that I now think about the end goal for the story. I think about some of the major plot points in the story, and then I will write to the next plot point. I'll think about what happens, and then I'll write to the next plot point. So it's never fully laid out. I still have structure in there. And I kind of go from there, right? Like I focus on the structure, but like I don't they're not fully like George R. Martin coined the terms architect and gardener. So an architect has the blueprints for everything.
Right.
The measurements, all the corners, all the doors, all the angles, everything. The gardener plants the seeds and basically cultivates these plot points until you have the full garden. So for me, I like to think I'm somewhere in between. So I have like a cabin in the woods, and instead of like a full like skyscraper, I'm just working on this cabin.
Right. That's so funny to me, especially like that whole term, totally sidetrack point, but doing with the gardener thing. I recently just bought a home, and so like my mom and I are like redoing our whole front yard, and I feel like that is like me and her. She's just like, I'm the one, doing the ground. I'm the one that's cultivating all of these plants. I'm planting everything, I'm watering it. And whereas me, I'm like, why don't we do this and like flatten out this land, and then it could just transition over here. And it's just so funny that that was all running through my head when you were talking about that whole structure. And that was just so funny. But I also think that kind of transitions into how I write as well, because like I have to have, like you said, like those like main points kind of like that you're hitting along the plot line. And you don't know really how you're going to get there. That kind of goes along with your writing process, but you do know you want to end to that little speed bump right there, and then so on and so forth. And I feel like that also allows for your characters to kind of develop into like these really organic ways. And it just feels like the development from where the character started at the beginning of the story is more flowing to kind of how they end up towards that end. And you end up kind of discovering what decisions your character will make along the process to end up to that like final stepping stone. And yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like tried to talk and I just had a massive voice crack. I'm so sorry. I just sounded like I just smoked a pack of cigarettes.
That's okay. It's hard to talk after that. Grace said something really poignant.
No, I tell you, anytime we're like on the podcast and Grace starts like her spiel, you just see me like nodding at her and just watching, and I'm just like, because she's so good at that. Like, it's Grace talks about her writing style. We're writing a book together, and we have not written in a while.
Hey, it's the thought that counts. Okay, we know what we want to do. It'll happen somehow, some way. I think our problem was that quarantine kind of like slowed everything down for us instead of like making us speed up. So yeah, it'll happen.
Yeah. But it's funny because like for like me, I'm a very structured person. Like I have to have that like structure down and like the details down, or else I completely go AWOL, and I go far out at left field when I'm supposed to be going to first base, and I'm just that's my right, but left field. I'm not good with directions either. But I just find it so interesting how like authors, like, because we've talked with a couple authors, and they talk about how like either they're like really heavy into planning, or like they're like you, where they're like kind of in the middle. And then like there's like Katie, who last week we talked to her, and she's just like, oh yeah, I write like a book in like 4 or 6 weeks. And I'm like,
I know. Katie and I are good friends. I'm the one who got Katie on TikTok.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome. I
was like, join this right now.
It's so surprising how like it kind of going back to my point I was talking about, authors like you and like who I've never like, I got back into reading, and I like started reading romance around January to March, and now I exclusively read romance books. I've not read a YA book in so long.
They're still pretty good. There's a few really great YAs that have recently come out, but it's I mean, but you know what? Right now we have to self-soothe. We're in a global crisis, and it is okay to gravitate towards the stories that make you feel better.
But
we need those happily ever afters, and romance is the automatic guarantee of those. That is like my absolute favorite thing. I swear every time like I'll post a video and then somebody asks, is it a happily ever after? And I'm just like, babe, it's romance. Who hurt you?
Who hurt you?
Who hurt you?
But my question is, how did you get onto TikTok? Like, did you see that other authors were on TikTok and you're like, okay, I should do it? Or were you on TikTok before and you're like, you were on it for a while and then you're like, hey guys, like I'm an author? Or what was your process onto coming onto TikTok?
So like I've heard about TikTok, and like people would like send me TikTok videos, and like I wasn't into it because my husband is an engineer and he's all about like how like TikTok is not that secure of a network, and like you have to be really careful when you're on that platform. So I kind of avoided it. And then a good friend of mine is Alicia Rai, and if you don't follow her on TikTok, she's hysterical. And Alicia was, there's a bunch of South Asian romance writers who get together, and we like talk once a month, and we're on text chains and whatever. And then twice a year we do a retreat, and normally the retreat is in person, but last time it was virtual. And on Zoom, Alicia Rai is teaching us all how to join TikTok. And it's my very first TikTok video of this Zoom call where Sonali Dev is like, I can't see my name. And like, you know, and like, I'm yelling like, it's at the bottom of the screen. It is ridiculous. It's my very first TikTok video. I highly recommend watching it because it's hysterical. And I posted that, and then I started like following a lot of BookTokers because I joined the platform when I first joined the platform, my goal wasn't to promote my own books. My goal was to like find books to read, because I am as voracious of a reader as I am, you know, into writing. And like, I'm always looking for good stuff. And I was in like such a big mafia kick. So I started posting like mafia romance recs, and I have to get back to that. But like I have to get back to posting about mafia romances, but like I started posting, and then it just kind of became this addiction of posting and connecting and, you know, gushing over favorite books with people. And then of course someone would have a really, like, in quotes, I say this in quotes, hot take about a booktok topic, and I would start ranting, and TikTok became my outlet. So I'm grateful for it. But of course, like, you know, it's not healthy for everybody. It doesn't work that way for everybody. So like, you know, I'm really like in awe of a lot of the authors who like feel confident in posting about their book all the time and like sharing and promoting. And like, you know, for me, like I just can't, I don't have the energy or the stamina or even like the self-preservation to be able to do that. They are a lot stronger than I am to be able to do something like that. But so for me, like, I think my content is like all over the place because my goal is to really just have fun.
It definitely feels like, I'm gonna say it, you're like a book content creator, and then like at least on your BookTok account, it feels like you're like a book content creator, and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm also an author. Here's my book, but like I'm gonna rant about BookTok like topics this week, but like, oh, also here's this book I'm coming out with. So it is definitely refreshing because you do, like us as readers, we get that personality. Like if you are, I know there's a lot of like authors who just put like content about their books out. Great. Love that. But I love seeing an author's personality and them talking about serious issues and like putting their perspective on things. And it's like, I've learned a lot of stuff from authors of, I'm a white woman. I'm heterosexual passing. I grew, I mean, my dad's an immigrant, but I'm white. I'm like white. I'm a white girl from Texas. Like I did not grow up in a very cultured background, let's just say. But like I love when you talk about like important issues and stuff, because it's like it's not anything I would be able to ever see or perceive, because that's just not. I live in Omaha. I live in Omaha, Nebraska. Like if that tells you
Oh my
anything
gosh.
about the diversity where I live. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's, and I like,
Yeah.
yeah, y'all are both like, yeah, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
At least when I
It's
lived in
really
Dallas.
it's really funny. Like sometimes you can get what's called like a heat map of your sales from your publisher, or you can get a heat map of your sales if you like self-pub on Amazon. And like my sales are primarily like all East and West Coast. Like in the middle, it's like it's like tumbleweeds.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That's all that there is.
if you see like a tiny spark in Nebraska, that's me. That's me.
Yeah, it's
appreciate
definitely that sense of like culture shock is like really huge. Like I'm born and raised in Los Angeles. It's you get every type of person over there, you know. It's all I have so many different types of friends that it's just, you know, it's just who we are. And then like I went to go visit family and I'm just like, where are all the brown people?
Where did you go visit family?
I did a whole road trip to Texas to visit my cousin who left LA to be with her husband and his family over there. And like every time we would hit a rest stop, I'm just like, is like the whole world not like how it is in LA with like the people? And like you like you forget that like, you know, the like everyone else in the world does not know what that's like. And for us who like grow up with that type of like demographic around us, we're just like, it's normal to read something, to watch something and see a whole bunch of different types of people of color. And then like you literally step out of that and then you're just like, oh my gosh, the whole world is not like this. I forget that some people do not know what it's like to see people and automatically see people of color, and like that's not how it works. And then like you start getting into these conversations with BookTok about like, you know, diversifying their bookshelves and like, you know, having more POC and having LGBTQ rep and having disability rep and all these different types of reps on there. And then you realize that like for those who live it and who like are already doing it, you're just like, well, you don't already do that. Like it's not part of your.
No, it's definitely not. And like a lot of school systems, because of the types of thought that are at the head of school districts, you know, kids aren't raised to taught, you know, and taught how to diversify not only their bookshelf, but their social media, or, you know, the way that they're exposed to content. Like they're taught that there's only one sole source of truth. And I'm hoping that TikTok does the work, but I see like just in our BookTok space, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done.
There is. The conversation has opened up more often through BookTok, and I feel like it has done a pretty good job of like opening a lot of people's eyes and realizing, whoa, I don't do this already. I need to do this. Let me go look for it. And I feel like we've done pretty good so far as like a starting for this community to start opening people's eyes and teaching them like there's more out there than what you're getting at face value, you know, but you have to look for it. You have to want it. And then the more that you look for it, the more people who are pushing these books out there will start listening and be like, this is what people are looking for. Why don't we have more of this? And then we get, you know, the reward. We get to reap the rewards later down the line, you know?
Yeah.
But it's something that we have to like consistently push for and we have to consistently ask for. And I'm hoping that what we see based on like what happened these past 2 years, that we'll start seeing that change hit the publishing companies and start understanding, because now they're realizing like BookTok is like huge when it comes to our sales and huge when it comes to like what books get pushed and what books, you know, hit chart numbers, because of the influence that all these creators have. And it's like pretty insane that, like, you know, we have people like Eamon and we have people like Pauline who will recommend a book that they absolutely love, and then like 2 days later it's sold out on Barnes and Noble, on Amazon, on anywhere that you get books. And it's like pretty insane that, like, you know, we have creator and that they're friends of ours who have that influence to do that and have that power to shape readers' lives and what content they like take in. And it's pretty great. And then you're doing your part by, like, you know, not just being, you know, an author TikTok, but, you know, it's like, hey, I'm a reader too, okay, and I care about things, and this is what I need to say about it, because we all need to hear it all the time.
And definitely. I mean, just to comment on like the way that publishers have kind of seen TikTok, what makes me nervous is the way that they kind of infiltrated Twitter back in the day. Like Twitter was the thing, right? Twitter influenced minds, then Instagram influenced minds, and that's how they were able to hand sell books. And like, I'm afraid that the same influence is going to dampen TikTok, and content creators are going to focus less and less on like that immediate love and the gushing that we all have for books that we like just are obsessed with, and it's going to be more about like ads, and it's about you know, paid advertising, and that's my only fear, because I felt when I first joined TikTok, I felt safe to talk about books that I love. And as an author, you know, that's like just putting that aside for a second, but as a reader, I felt like I can talk about things that I love here, and I feel like I can connect with other people who also can talk about things that they love. And like, I'm feeling more and more pressure to be an author on TikTok versus a reader on TikTok, because of the way that publishing is starting to infiltrate, and publishing houses now have accounts on TikTok, and publishing houses are now like paying for advertising on TikTok. Like, this is so insane. I'm not going to mention who, but a publishing house reached out to me and was like, we saw that you are on TikTok and we'd love for you to be part of our influencer program. And I was like, babes, did you check out the link in the bio? Like, I cannot be an influencer, because that is like, there's a conflict going on here. Like there's a major conflict going on here.
There's a line right there that's being crossed and you don't see it.
And like, the book that they sent me was like a non-diverse historical romance. And I'm like, okay, fine. First of all, I love historical romance. Like, if you guys want historical romance recs, I'm happy to share them with you. But that is like not my brand. Like, it's not my brand.
I definitely they're like, I'm on a couple of I'm on like Berkeley's influencer program, but like I told them, like, hey, I will read the book, and like, but there's some books that like, if you send me it and I don't particularly like want or interested in it, I'm not gonna make a video or something like that, because like, I'm only putting out content for books or things that like I truly love. And it's like, when I, that's why like a lot of my videos, I think you see like repetitive books and stuff, and it's like, well, because I like these books, like these are the books I'm trying to push out to you, and I try to keep that in mind when I'm like, when I get asked, or like when I get sent books, I'm like, I always put like an honest review on Goodreads. That's where like, if I don't particularly care for a book, I don't make a video on it. Because I want to keep my page like positive, and I know that authors who, I always try to put good and bad. So it's like, hey, I loved this, this, and this, but there were like this part's like love hypothesis, where she sat on the professor's lap in the middle of a lecture. I'm in university. I'm in university right now. Like, I'm getting my degree, and I like read that, and I thought it was cute at first, and then I like sat there, and it was your video that talked about it, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, this is so weird. Like, I would never do that.
But like, so like, the point that I was trying to make, and I think that there's a lot of people who didn't like really like grasp the point. I think you guys got it, but like, I think most people didn't grasp the point that I was trying to make. This is a book that features like 2 cishet white characters, and in this story, the heroine felt safe enough to sit on her professor's lap, maybe uncomfortable in the moment, and it's not her professor, but like a professor, and both of them are in a consensual relationship, and it was a consensual move. But like, the reason why it's so important to have diverse romance is because if this was a situation where there was like a Black or brown person sitting on a professor's lap, the repercussions, like the reputation, the way that it looks, the opportunity, all of it is so much different from cishet white characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And like,
definitely.
that's what I'm like, is like this not something that people are talking about? Like, this is why
Yeah.
we need diverse books. And I just made a video about it today. Denise Williams wrote a book called How to Fail at Flirting.
Yes.
That is the academic romance that we should be talking about too. Like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
it's so
but
good.
kind of back to my point of like, yeah, that
Sorry.
is like,
It's
no, but like, I like, it was funny, but like, I made a video about, it was a generic video, and it was like when the main love interest falls in love before the MC. And it was with the love hypothesis, and somebody commented, and they were like, I think publishers are paying y'all to push this book out. And I was like, if Berkeley wanted to pay me to push out this book, I didn't like put a review out on it or anything, because I was just like, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. And I was just like, are people actually getting paid to push this book? I was like,
I think the only ones that kind of did were Book of the Month, because it was one of their books, but that's what they do every month, you know, those are the books that they push. It just so happened that this book was it hit certain points that readers really eat up, you know. It's something that we all look for. It was a good book. It was fun. It was a cute read.
It's like,
you know,
part marketing and part magic. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's part marketing, part magic. Like, honestly, there's nothing new under the sun. So it's not like, you know, there was something new and magical about the love hypothesis. It's just like there was a spark at the right place at the right time, just like a lot of other books. And I'm not saying it's a bad book. I'm like, I don't want to go there. I personally didn't relate to it. I felt like there was some stuff in it that, you know, other authors have done a little bit better, but Ali Hazelwood can like write a book, right? So I think when people say like, some of you all I feel like some of you all are paid to push these books, it's interesting. I think it's like a snowball effect. It's not necessarily like, it could start with a simple marketing campaign, but you know, Sophie Lark is an incredible writer, but like, she doesn't have a publisher, right?
Spoiler alert, she's going to be our last guest, or I guess you've already seen it if you're on the if you follow us on Instagram. But she is our last guest of this month, and I literally just got Brutal Prince in today.
Sophie can write a book.
I'm so excited.
Sophie can write a book. That is what I'm talking about.
I was DMing with her, and I was like, I might call you. I might send you like a voice memo at 3 a.m. Fair warning, like either hysterically crying about this series or like yelling at you, FYI. And she was like, oh, I can't wait. She's like, I'm so excited. And I'm like, oh my God, she's so sweet and amazing, and like she's so nice, and I love that. And I'm just like, oh, I cherish you. I can't wait to read the book. I can't wait to read it.
Whole series, her world building blows my mind. I was hooked. And you get authors like that, like you said, who don't have publishers, you know, who do all of like, you know, they're promoting themselves, and anyone who picks up their books absolutely love them. Like, all of my friends who have read the Brutal Birthright series and the Kingmaker series absolutely love them. And Sophie's doing it on her own. Her and her hubby are doing everything on their own. Like, Business Daddy, shout out to you for like, you know, your covers, because like, you know what you're doing, okay? And you know, it works, and it's doing an amazing job. And then, like you said, like, we have waves on BookTok of like when books blow up, and it has to hit. It's so weird. It has to hit like right at the right time.
Mhm.
Like for a while, like back in summer, it was like Spanish Love Deception, where it hit, and then all of a sudden you were seeing it on like every other video.
Wait,
And
can we pause for a second on Spanish Love Deception?
Oh yeah.
Yes, we gotta stop about this book. Okay. So, do you both know who invented the sports romance?
Oh, I forgot.
No, I
This
don't.
may be before your time because it was a little bit before my time.
I worked at Barnes Noble, so I was taught like some like romance history. I forgot who exactly, but
Susan Elizabeth Phillips.
Phillips.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's
Susan
the.
Elizabeth Phillips started the sports romance, and her first book in the series. Hold on, I'm going to pull it up because it's so important. It's like this is like an important conversation for us to have, because I feel like everyone's talking about that one scene in Spanish Love Deception, and like no one's giving credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
Is it, God, what is it? It Had to Be You. Okay, I think it was It Had to Be You. It was,
I feel like I've heard that name before.
This woman inherits a sports team, and she's carried off the field. It was the moment that like sparked sports romance. Like it amazing. And when the Spanish Love Deception did it, I was like, just close the book slowly and like slid it across the table. I was like, I gotta go back to the classics. Like,
Go back to the OG.
So if you really liked Spanish Love Deception, check out It Had to Be You by Susan Elizabeth Phillips. And then if you also want like diverse sports romance, is it Nana Malone? I think it might be, no, it might be, I'll think about it. I'll tweet you guys.
Yeah, but I'm gonna mention something too about Spanish Love Deception, because I just saw that it has been picked up by a publisher, and it was also in Times Square, an ad for the Spanish Love Deception and These Violent Delights. And I was like, I cried at the These Violent Delights video when I saw it, and I was like, oh my God. I was like,
oh my gosh.
BookTok did that. BookTok did that. Chloe's amazing. Chloe is
amazing.
Beautiful. I love her.
I personally, like, really quickly on the Spanish Love Deception, I have not read it, and I don't think I will, simply because I have a little brother who's 10, whose name is Aaron.
That's hard.
And you have a brother named Jacob, and
I have a brother named Jacob.
So that doesn't help with a lot of books either.
A lot of books kind of like, there. It's just like, who, I need to know the name, at least just the name. Don't need to know what they do. And if we're away from those two names, I'm good. Like,
you're good.
Green lights, speeding ahead.
It's funny because my roommate's boyfriend's name is Reese, and I read a book and it was Reese, and it was the exact same spelling as his name, and I literally told them, I was like, I'm correcting this to like a whole other name. I was like, this man is not named Reese in this book, because I literally cannot. They're like my mom and dad, and I'm like, I could never read a book about my parents. Like, no, I can never.
Oh, yeah. That's like that's the limit right there. We can deal with some forms of other dark romances, but having the same name as somebody that we know in real life, that is an automatic hard limit.
Yeah,
I can see that. I mean, for me, it's a little more difficult for me to find books with people I know, so I can't really sympathize, but I get you.
Oh yeah.
But
by the way, it was Naima Simone's book, Scoring Off the Field. So Naima Simone, if you want diverse sports. I mean, I know Spanish Love Deception is a workplace romance. It's not like a sports romance, but like, I feel like that's the scene that everyone on TikTok was talking about. And I had to bring it up and make a point on this podcast.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But kind of going back to what Grace was saying about like there is like these special moments on TikTok where a book like it's so, you can't really like target a certain time. It just kind of happens where there's this natural flow of like, there's this soar of content about this one book, and then it kind of starts to go down, and you're like, you have to get it right when it's starting to go down. You have to have a really good like review video. Oh, I put my computer on do not disturb and it's just wrong. But you have to like get it where it's slightly curving down and people are like, okay, we're kind of done with this book, what's the next book? And then you have to have somebody who is that person who is very compelling and convincing, and they love the book, and they're like, everyone has to read it, like Eamon did with Addie LaRue.
Mhm.
That was sold out. Like, I worked in Barnes and Noble, everybody was coming in for that, and we were like, we do not have this, we can't order any more right now, we do not have any. And they were like, where can I get it? And I'm like, you can get an e-copy. And they're like, no, I want the physical copy. And I'm like, I can't do anything. And I was like, when I first met Eamon, I was like, Eamon, you made my life harder those weeks.
I love Eamon. She's the best.
Oh, she's amazing.
literally awesome. She's actually coming to California, like a few others, like Maggie. We're all coming to meet, and it's like my dream to meet Eamon. Eamon, if you're listening to this, I'm waiting for you.
Yeah, I
Said
definitely
in a
can.
non-creepy voice.
Yeah.
No
Oh,
creepy
I
voice.
definitely threatened in her comments. I'm like, don't make me come humble you, because she got verified. And I was like, oh, now that she's
Oh,
verified, she's acting
yes.
different. And she's like, I know, I'm acting different. And I was like, don't make me come humble you, because I'll drive to her house. I've done it where I had driven like through 2 tornadoes to get to her. I was like, I will do it again. And she's like, bet. Like, come see me. I dare you. And it's so funny. She's such a fun person. And her reviews, she posted like a video, and she was talking about how she was duetting her old like reviews and stuff, and you see like the confidence in her completely 180, and you're like, the power
Yeah.
she holds now is like one review and your book can, like, it blows up with like those compelling people. And it's not just that she has a big platform, it's just that she has that very compelling way of describing a book, of like telling you her thoughts about the book and like what she liked about it. And it's like, I could probably never do that. That's why I say I give vague reviews. I don't like telling people what the book's about. I don't like knowing what a book's about.
When I get so excited about a book, I can't tell people what it's about. I'm just like, stop, just read this. Like, that's all I can do.
Yeah. And like,
Yeah.
this sounds really bad, but I will gatekeep a book if I like it enough. I'm like, I don't want anybody to read this because I liked it so much. It's like,
Oh my gosh.
I have to like force Maggie to read anything that I love that she has not read yet. And I'm just like, dude, if you don't pick up this book right now, I will literally like shove this book down your throat. Like every time I'm talking to her, have you read it? Have you read it? Have you read it?
oh my
I
god.
need to know. That's the 2 different scales.
You guys should have like a podcast, like a poll every month, like books that Grace has recommended to Maggie. Which one should Maggie read next? And then like have people vote on it.
Wait, we might
You know
actually do
what?
that. That could
You
be
know
in our.
what?
Okay. So do you want to give us any more
Okay.
content? What else should we create? Like, do
Any
you have
other
any influencers
ideas?
you want us to bring on too?
It's like magic. It's like magic on TikTok. I have no idea. It'll come when it comes, and then I'll let you know.
That's something always hits. Like right now, I'm like in a TikTok rut. I have no idea what to post. So it's just like, it's there. Account is there somehow. But yeah, I want to ask this. Have you ever, like, we get tons of reviews and tons of recs on BookTok, but you as a reader, have you picked up a book that you didn't think that you would originally reach for, but a review just made you pick it up and you fell in love? Have you had that book yet?
Morning Glory Milking Farm. I hate to say it.
We literally talked about this in the last episode.
I hate to say it, but Morning Glory Milking Farm. It was a good book. It was if they weren't minotaurs or like other creatures who's walking around this world, it would be a cute little rom-com.
Oh my gosh. I love that everyone knows that book. And
Just by the
everyone
cover.
who has read it. Yeah, everyone who has read it has absolutely loved it. And it's
Mhm.
so like we were talking with Katie and we were just like, you know what? The monsters are coming in and they are like the next wave. We've had our Ice Planet Barbarians, we had our Minotaurs. The next type of beast is coming up. I can feel
Well,
it
I've
brewing.
seen so many werewolf romance wrecks lately.
Oh yes, so many shifter
Shifters,
werewolf.
and I'm
Yes.
really annoyed that no one is picking up Nalini Singh shifter books.
Okay.
Like, hello.
Yeah.
I have been shouting about Nalini Singh for like 7 months now since I joined.
It's picking up. It's gonna come out right now. Everyone's gonna pick them up and they're just gonna be like, this is it. This is our next phase.
And no one will give me credit because that's the way it goes.
We're saying this now. If this series ends up taking off, Nisha said it first.
We'll
I
comment
appreciate
on
that.
every video. We'll comment.
Every video. We'll
appreciate
be like,
that.
Nisha said it first. Maybe that should be our sticker instead. Nisha said it first.
Nisha said-
I appreciate that because let me tell you, I was talking about Ice Planet Barbarians for a very long time as well. I just want to put that out there.
Oh my gosh. You are definitely like the ones that the market needs to be looking at because like all of these books that take off, apparently you saw them first. You know them first.
I have to admit, I have a little bit of a cheat. I listened to the Fated Mates podcast. So Fated Mates by Jen Prokop and Sarah McLean, who's also an author. And I get so many romance recs from these two because Jen is a Kirkus romance correspondent. Sarah is a voracious reader. She used to write a romance rec column for the Washington Post. And of course, like she's just a brilliant person in general. And both of them have the best romance recs that like fill the gaps where I don't have them. And then author Joanna Shoup is another one who also reads like a lot of dark romance, a lot of mafia romance, and Katie. So Katie, Joanna, and myself, we have like a text chat, and we like when a book comes up and that we've seen it, we like immediately start like, you have to read this, you have to read this. And so 100% I have to give credit where credit is due. It's like Fated Mates, Joanna Shoup, Katie Robert, like all of these people are my go-tos.
Your go-tos. Oh gosh, I love that. I love that like that we get all of these recs from other people and then like we pass them on and then like somehow it just like grows from there.
Yeah.
And then we realize like, well, actually this person told me about it. And then it like goes all the way back to it. And it's like, it's pretty great how like that chain reaction goes. Because I gotta say like, your mafia rec books, like that's my bread and butter right now.
They slap, right?
They I swear, my parents.
Grace is heavy into mafia romance like right now. Like for the last like 3 months, that's what she's just been reading is mafia romance. She read Sophie Lark's books, all of them.
Cora Riley.
That's my next.
Okay.
That's my next.
Okay. Danielle Laurie.
That was my first. That was my first.
Good. And Katie Robert.
Oh yes. So I was gonna pick up her
O'Malley.
The second gen of it, and I was gonna read it, and I was just like, wait a minute, this is the second gen. I need to go back. So I
also, did you see the dedication to the second gen?
No.
Oh no.
She dedicated it to me. She's like, this book wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Nisha Sharma. Like, so your sticker maybe should read. Nisha said it first.
Nisha said it first. You know what? I might have to just redesign it right now.
No, dating Dr. Dill is fine. It's fine. I really should be talking about my books as well. I spend a lot of time talking about other people's books. It's fine.
Well, but like we kind of how we said, like, you are like a reader first when it comes to your TikTok. It definitely feels like you are a reader first, and you can definitely tell that you do have a dedicated love to reading, I could say. Yeah. It's like very heavily prevalent where I'm like, oh yeah, she gives really good book recommendations. And then like after like following you for a while, I was like, oh, she's an author too.
Everyone has said that. I didn't know you wrote books. I'm like, well, that's great.
Yeah, it's just like
you need to do
I'm out here promoting everyone else's books, but hey, I happen to have one too.
I mean, I don't even look at it as promoting though. I look at it as talking about these stories that I just absolutely love. That made me feel so great. So
yeah, well, kind of a hard question here, but we talked about your Mafia Rex, what is like some good like Spooktober is definitely a big thing for like the romance realm right now. So like what is your like top 3 like spooky romance books that you would recommend for our
Okay, you can't
listeners?
just cap me at 3. Okay.
Okay,
So,
5. We'll do 5. We'll do 5.
So here we go. So I did 2 videos on 2 different Nora Roberts Rex, and I'm going to just mention them briefly here. So the first one is the Blood Brothers trilogy. It's about 3 boys who kind of unleash this demon from the stone that it was trapped in when they were 10 years old. And every 7 years, this demon comes and kind of haunts the town for 7 days. And for the first time ever, these boys turn 30. For the first time ever, another person can see this demon. It's this woman who comes to town to kind of debunk the myth of this demon, and she of course falls in love with one of the guys, and it's a love story for each of the books. It's so good. They like figure out how to trap the demon. Check your trigger warnings though, because there are quite a few triggers. This demon is like really terrible and super scary. The audiobook, like, don't listen to it when you're driving at night. That's all I gotta say. So
I'm a sucker for audiobooks, so
Yeah.
that was a very good warning right there.
Just don't listen to it at night because it will scare you. The second Nora book that I mentioned is it's like the Three Sisters Island, where it's about 3 witches. And the
Yes.
3 witches, yeah, it's pretty good. So the 3 witches basically have to stop this island from falling into the sea because of this curse, and they have to like undo this curse that happened like 300 years ago. And it's delicious. All 3 books have, each book in the trilogy has its own romance. So I think that's it's amazing. Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman, of course, is like, that's a standard,
staple,
right? That's a staple for Spooktober. So I think those are like 3 that I would definitely mention. And then the 4th one is another Nora trilogy, which I'm going to talk about on my I'm going to do a video about it eventually. I love Nora's because they're just spooky enough, but they don't like scare the shit out of me, so I can't sleep at night. So like, this one is fantastic on audiobook. It takes place in Tennessee, so the narrator has this lovely, deep, like Southern accent that's like soft and soothing, and it's about a haunted house, and basically this ghost sings to children. And she's like, and there's like muddy footprints like going out into the back, like, and it's about a greenhouse. And the second book in the trilogy is an older heroine. She's in her 50s. And so it's like, it's really,
what was the series name?
Oh my gosh, it's the books are like Red Lily, Black Rose, Blue Dahlia. I don't remember the name of it. Blue Dahlia is first, Black Rose is second, Red Lily is third. So those are the 3 books from Nora that I highly recommend.
It's the In the Garden series.
In the Garden series. Just spooky enough, also phenomenal on audiobook. Let me tell you, that Southern accent totally gets me every single time. Let's see.
Love audiobooks when they do the accent, and oh my goodness,
it is
like Broken Bow. Raylan's voice, I was like, you hit different. Yes.
So good. I also love rereading Katie Roberts' Wicked Villains series during October because I don't know, it's not spooky, but at the same time, it feels like just the right time to reread like Jafar's story.
Yeah.
So it's Katie Roberts is definitely an October staple. And then last but not least, because it is fall and it is football season, I like to read like sports romances around this time. So it's not really Spooktober, but like it definitely gives me like fall vibes to reread like some of my favorite sports romances. So of course, like Susan Elizabeth Phillips, who like invented the sports romance. Naima Simone writes amazing sports romance novels. And then of course, Farrah Roshan. Highly recommend Farrah Roshan as well for diverse sports romances. And that's like my like rundown of my October reading list.
Yeah, it's so like that was kind of like one of Grace's like requests. She was like, we have to have our recommended books on the podcast. Like, that's we have to have a segment.
It has to be like a whole rec list, especially from Nisha, because like your recs are A1. They hit all the time.
I'm definitely
Gush.
excited for Wicked Villains by Katie Robert. I have not read it yet, but I'm going to do her Kickstarter of the getting them all in like the special editions. I'm a
Yeah.
special
Oh,
edition
yeah.
whore. Like I am a special edition whore. Like I will special editions are my shit. Like I don't really like hardcovers, but I will get a hardcover book and if it is a special edition. So I'm really excited for her and to see what the goodies are and the books in that. I'm
Oh
really
yeah.
Katie is a beast. She works so hard. She like
Mine.
has the best swag, the best like art. It's amazing. So if it's coming from Katie, I highly would recommend.
I definitely
yeah.
have wanted to like join her Patreon to get the not safe for work.
And also like not only that, she has like free stories and stuff on there.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah,
well, not free, but like
definitely.
part of the Patreon. So I
Yeah.
highly
Yeah.
recommend it.
Yeah.
Oh, going back to the Mafia, speaking of book recs, I haven't mentioned, definitely pick up Willow Winter's Lauren Landis
Oh yes.
Mafia romances. There's an auction in one of them.
I have the all the
I got
other
you,
bees.
Grace.
I have all the other
You,
bee
you
right
just
here.
know exactly what I need.
Mhm.
So anytime I just don't know what to read, I'll automatically go to you. Like, hey, Nisha.
Yeah.
You want to do it like we'll just DM you one day and you'll be like, oh, okay,
Yep.
here. I'll just start commenting on all your videos and I'll just put like specific like recs so you can just have content you can generate. I'll be like,
I appreciate that.
It's like TikTok. They're not showing like the comments. If you reply to a comment right now,
Oh yeah.
it's just
weird.
showing like a white box, like the comment box, but white. And I'm
I
like,
don't know why.
it's a glitch, I'm thinking, in their new like way they're doing things. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Because apparently now you can, if a creator has replied with a video, you can also reply to that comment even though it wasn't on your video. Like for example, if Maggie, you respond to a comment, like if you respond to Nisha's comment in a video, I can also respond to her comment as a video of myself.
I think if we're
So
friends, yeah.
Yes.
If
Yeah.
we're mutuals, yeah. Because Faye commented on another person's video and then they responded to the comment with a video, like their own comment. They responded with their own video talking about because they didn't want to like show the video, but they're like, you can go to my comment in the video and like it and then come back to this video. But yeah, I saw that and I was like, I saw it for one of my mutuals on like a random post, not a BookTok created, and they like commented and then they did like a video and I was like, is this a new thing? I'm sorry. What people are like commenting and then making videos on my post. I'm like, it's kind of scary.
TikTok goes forward with like new tools and things that you can do, but then something is always taken off. Like with the closed captioning, not everybody had them, and then only
They
some
rolled it
people
out
could have.
slowly.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. It was
I
like,
still-
don't throw it out there if it's not ready, half baked.
I want to make collections, playlists.
I
I
know.
want to
I
make
still
those.
don't have that
Man, that's
option
exactly
either.
what I want to do too.
Yeah, because like I have so many different types of videos, and like people are always like, "Hey, like, can you give me a recommendation?" And I'm like, I
Go
have
search
so many
through my
videos.
videos.
I literally,
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm
scroll.
scroll like
Or
it's
scroll
like
somewhere.
I'm like, you can literally go to my page, and there's so many recommendation videos I have, like, and review videos as well. So. Well, I'm guessing this is where we're gonna probably have to end for today because we do have to cut this short because Nisha does have to go get her car.
Yeah, sorry everyone.
No.
Did you guys get any questions from other people? I'm happy to answer
Oh,
questions.
yes.
Yes. We hit one of them, but we do want to before we go. One question was, what inspired you to become a writer?
Nancy Drew and Hardy Boy Mysteries. So
Nancy Drew, like, look.
so I'll go into it for like a little bit. So when I was a kid, and I don't know if they exist anymore, but when I was a kid, I used to read Nancy Drew mysteries. I used to read Hardy Boy mysteries, but there were super mysteries where both of them had crossovers. And in the crossover books, there's one that was called Secrets of the Nile, and Nancy Drew and Frank Hardy kissed on a balcony And I will never forget this scene. This is like imprinted on my brain for the rest of my natural life. And I started writing fan fiction because Ned was a terrible boyfriend and Nancy deserved better. And Nancy and Frank should have traveled the world solving mysteries together. And I would write, like, at the time, I didn't even know I was writing fan fiction. I just called it continuation of my favorite Nancy Drew and Frank Hardy stories. And so that started it. And of course, I was influenced by like cultural sources like Bollywood. Most of the Bollywood movies I watched were romances. So I always thought that it was expected for great stories to have that happily ever after. And I wanted to write some of my own because Bollywood didn't really fully represent me. I was an American South Asian, and American South Asian experiences are completely different than the full South Asian experience in Bollywood. And Nancy Drew and Frank Hardy are very much not South Asian. So I didn't see myself in the books that I was reading either.
Yeah.
So there I was deciding to write South Asian romances, and every single book I've written so far is between two South Asian characters.
Oh yeah. I am actually in the middle of the Takeover Effect, which I am loving.
I'm glad.
It's so good, and I love that it is a trilogy, which is like a good sweet spot of like a series. So I am so excited to jump into that right before getting to Dating Dr. Dill. But
that's in March,
yes.
so you have some time left for that.
I have time.
Another question was, you kind of answered it, but like you kind of have like that inspiration, but like when you came up with like Taming the Shrew and stuff, how do you come up with those like general inspired like by like Shakespeare? Like, did you just like, oh, I want to write something inspired by this? Or was it like, did you have to sometimes like sit like, hey, I wanted this story, but like, what is it going to be? Like that kind of like underlying like plot points that is the shrew.
So I loved reading Shakespearean plays. I went to Folger's Library in DC. I would spend like so much time down there going through the old folios, like Shakespeare's folios. I really like, one of my favorite ones was Much Ado About Nothing, which is the second book in the trilogy. Will be like a remix of Much Ado About Nothing, and of course Taming of the Shrew was definitely up there. And when I was brainstorming the story with my agent and with my editor, and I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to take these plays that I absolutely loved, and I want to push them through a South Asian like grinder. And I want to chop them up, and I want it to come out on the other side as like a South Asian inspired story, because so many of these 1500s storylines, you know, these stories that Shakespeare had produced have very similar connections to cultural references, like South Asian cultural references. Right. And I want to dismantle stereotypes in my stories, and this is the best way to do it. And I want to have fun while doing it too. Yeah. And so these three plays bring me joy because they're fun to read, but I want my community to see themselves in these stories now too. And I'm going to try my best. And I have, of course, like my skill set is limited, but I'm going to try my best to do it justice. And so that's how like that seed was planted. I loved the idea of doing a retelling. I wanted to do a retelling or a remix, and I wanted it to be inspired by South Asian culture. I wanted to write something for my community, and I wanted to have fun. And Dating Dr. Dill was created.
Yeah, I'm so excited for it, and I feel like it's gonna be something it's gonna be that next wave on BookTok.
Knock on wood, because there has not been a diverse book that has gotten hype on BookTok quite yet.
we're pushing the boundaries. We're gonna make it happen.
I hope
Don't
so.
worry. We're talking about it now.
When I say diverse, I mean BIPOC diverse. There has not been BIPOC diversity yet on BookTok.
Yes, we're pushing it out there. We're manifesting it.
Yeah,
it'll happen.
Let it be the next big BIPOC diverse wave. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, we're gonna at sadly end here. Because we know I'm keeping us on
I
time.
appreciate it.
I was like,
Yes.
you could see me like looking down. I'm like, okay, we can't go past this time. I'm like,
Thank you.
Grace is probably like looking at me. She's probably like, why is she looking down so much? I usually am like researching as like people are talking. I'm like, okay, I like
Yeah.
scrolling usually through Instagram feeds and like TikTok feeds and stuff. And I was like, nope, I'm looking at the time. I'm like pulling up my Apple Watch every like 2 minutes to
Do
make.
not even worry about it.
Well,
So
Grace, do you
before
want to give?
before we completely end our episode, we do want to kind of give an update. And last week on Katie's episode, we did mention that we are doing a October drop for this Auth-tober event. We are doing a sticker for each of our authors. For Katie Roberts, we are doing the mythological fanfic sticker. You will most likely see kind of sneak peeks on our Instagram stories for the podcast on there, on our shop Instagram as well. And for Nisha, we have a I Heart Dr. Dill sticker that is just so cute, but you know,
I don't know. We might have to switch it up.
It might change.
I appreciate that.
Maybe we'll put like Nisha said it first, but then we'll put like a stethoscope and like a heart somewhere so you know that like it pays homage. Maybe we'll do that.
I can't wait to see it.
So make sure you guys keep an eye out. We are going to be dropping these sticker packs in the middle of October, so maybe a few days from now when this episode airs. We are so excited for it, and we want to thank you, Nisha, for being our second guest for this month-long event. And it was such a blast to have you on, and we loved talking with you.
It
I
was
really appreciate
Yeah.
you guys inviting me. This was a lot of fun.
We're definitely gonna put links to all your books, pre-orders for you, and we'll put all your social media links. And we definitely want to. I don't know about Grace. I'm introducing this, but I want to have like an authors like panel talk where like all the authors we've talked to and stuff, we like bring them on for like a live, like we do like a live episode and like talk with everybody, because like I want to talk with like you and Katie together, and then
We're
Alexis.
awesome. We're pretty awesome.
Yes.
And Alexis too is amazing.
Yes. I love that, like, that you guys are like all friends, and we're just like, oh, you know, we're having this author on. They were just like, oh yeah, we're friends. We're friends. And I'm just like, yes. I love that.
It's really great. But thank you so much, Nisha, for coming on.
Thanks, Maggie. Thanks,
thank you
Grace.
for our listeners as well, because I don't think we don't appreciate y'all. We appreciate you, but I don't think we say it enough, because we definitely like, we always are like, oh, this person's not gonna like come on. They're gonna say no, like no. But like our listeners really do help support us and listen to us and follow us, and y'all comment a lot, and we love you. And thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. Next week we are going to have Ben Alderson on. He is the author of Lord of Eternal Night. Very interesting because he lives in London, and so I've had to do some calculations when it comes to time zones. But that is going to be next week's guest. No, yes. It's in 2 weeks from today, but I'm thinking like next week.
Yes.
I have to plan ahead.
Yeah. It's fine. Yeah. Will be our next guest, and we are excited to have him on. If you guys haven't looked up his books, make sure you guys do, so by the time we actually have him on, you guys know exactly who we're talking about. And make sure you guys check out all of our pre-order links for all of our authors on. And yeah, thank you guys.
We'll see you in the next one. Bye
Bye guys.